Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on unpacking the evolution of B2B digital commerce and looking at our expert predictions for 2025. I'm going to give everyone about 1 to 2 more minutes to join the live cast before we begin. But as a few housekeeping notes, this session is going to be recorded. Everyone that's registered and attending will receive a copy of the recording within the next few days. And we won't have time for a Q&A at the end of the session, unfortunately, just due to the sheer amount of speakers and content. But please feel free to submit your questions in the question panel, and our experts can follow up with you after the webinar. Okay, so looking at the time, I think we are at a good time to get started. Welcome again, everyone, to today's live session, Pivotal Trends and Predictions of B2B Digital Commerce. We're going to be hearing from a stellar group of commerce industry experts about what B2B businesses can expect from 2025, what trends we should watch for in order to stay ahead of the curve. My name is Julia Rapkin. I am the Senior Product Marketing Manager for B2B at commercetools, and I am super excited about our lineup today. Without further ado, I'd love to open up the floor for our commerce experts to actually briefly introduce themselves. Michael,
hello everyone, my name is, sure. Thank you, Julia. Hi everyone, my name is Michael Schultz. I run product and customer marketing. I've been at commercetools for almost 4 years and in the industry helping B2B companies succeed over the last 20 years. I'll hand over to Mark.
Hello everyone, my name is Mark Stracuza and I work on the strategy side at commercetools. I've been here just shy of 5 years and been working in lots of different industries and domains, but focused a little bit more on AI recently. And I'll hand it over to Niels.
Hi, I'm Niels Medina, Senior Product Manager at commercetools, and I'm basically helping shaping the B2B product here at commercetools. And I'll hand off to Anna.
Thank you, Niels. Hi, I'm Anastasia Truka. I am a staff product manager here at commercetools, primarily looking at the carts area and also the broader checkout domain. And I'm within the e-commerce industry for over the last 10 years. And with that, I will pass it on to Logan.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. I am Logan Vadevelu. I lead strategy and solutions for focused on industries at Google Cloud. Been with Google for close to 7 years now, and been working with customers globally and partners such as commercetools, based in Dallas, Texas. My solutions portfolio primarily focuses on improving digital experiences for customers across channels. That passing on to Genevieve.
Thank you, Logan. My name's Genevieve Broadhead, and I'm the Global Lead of Retail Solutions at MongoDB. I've been at Mongo for just over 5 years now, and I work with retail companies looking to build next-gen e-commerce, order management, everything else, applications on MongoDB, and also with great retail solutions such as commercetools that are built on MongoDB as the data backend.
Awesome. Thank you all again so much for being here. I can't wait to hear each of your insights. But first, maybe let me set the scene a little bit for what's going on in the B2B e-commerce world. So let's go back a little bit to our 2024 predictions. We had 10, ranging from omnichannel becoming omnipresent to sustainability coming to the forefront of B2B buying. Every year in preparation for our next report, we always reflect back on our predictions. And we think we were actually pretty spot on last year. So we actually decided to visualize the evolution of some of these trends into a trend cycle and to see and kind of track how they develop over time and progress. Most notably, I'd like to call out, and if we can go to the next slide, please. Most notably, I'd love to call out here that the only trend that we believe is actually solidly in the maturity category is B2B buyer expectations. And we'll talk a little bit more about how those continue to evolve, with omnichannel becoming omnipresent kind of following in a close second. Everything else we believe, from digital commerce security to hybrid sales, are still very much in the early and growth stages, gaining a lot of traction in B2B, but not quite mainstream yet, although we are seeing some interesting movements from some of the outperformers in the B2B space. And I think some of our commerce experts will actually be bringing up some of those examples so we can see what outperformers are doing differently. Maybe if we go to the next slide, zooming in a little bit more into the state of B2B digital commerce, right? We cover this every year, but I think in B2B, what we actually see is that the future arrives this year in 2025, or maybe it's actually even already here. The major industry analysts like Gartner, Forrester, McKinsey, they've all touted 2025 over the last few years as the year when the majority of B2B sales and purchases will be happening in digital channels. And while 71% of B2Bs do have some kind of e-commerce present, there's still a whopping 29% of B2B organizations that don't have any e-commerce at all. So I'm very curious to see how this year specifically is going to evolve. Going on to the next slide, right? Nobody is getting younger except the B2B buyer, right? We would be remiss if we didn't speak about the B2B buyer. So taking an even deeper look, the B2B buyer is getting younger year by year. The majority of decision makers in B2B are digitally native millennials and Gen Z, like myself, and they are very unsatisfied with their buying experiences. If we go to the next slide, I think over 2/3 claim that they're going to seek new solutions and suppliers that can provide them with a better purchasing experience. And only 41% say they're actually having a decent experience. So I think there's still a lot of potential. I want to make two more quick points about the state of B2B e-commerce. You can obviously read about them in a lot more detail in the full white paper, but these are important. So the first one is there's a lot of buyer inertia that B2B selling organizations are experiencing. And this is where we think brand building, trust, exceptional experiences really make the difference. Some of our experts will later talk about the value of hybrid digital physical journeys and how to create those experiences that accelerate revenue growth for your business. But I think that this buyer inertia element is really important to remember as we move forward. The other point I want to highlight is actually around technology investment. We saw technology investments soar in 2024. The C-suite, by and large, getting on board with digital initiatives. They're providing the funding, they're providing the support for them, but they also expect ROI in a much shorter time frame. And when we started looking deeper, which technology investments actually make a difference, 65% of B2B leaders state that e-commerce is completely broken in their organizations. And more importantly, which investments are actually yielding results quickly because the C-suite wants to see that ROI a lot faster. I believe investing in technology for the sake of technology isn't enough. I think we're going to see that come to the forefront a lot this year. What businesses really need is technology to scale their business that aligns with their strategy. And you'll hear a lot of our commerce experts talking about how to actually create that strategy and what to think about when creating that strategy. A bit deeper, I wanted to talk also around really the thesis for this white paper, which is the extended B2B experience, right? So this point, right, on technology investment aligning with business strategy and goals, it brings me to my thesis for today, which is that the B2B experience needs to be looked at holistically. So of course, customer centricity is still very much the North Star. Your buyer is at the center of the experience, but you can't truly deliver a customer-centric experience to that buyer without considering their extended experience. This includes thinking about how the sales and support teams can better serve the buyer and provide value. What is the experience that that buyer has with those sales and support teams? What kinds of tools are your technology and operations teams having to work with? What do they have to deal with? What do they have to support the sales and support functions with? And then when you think about it even beyond that, right, the true customer experience is holistic. How empowered and enabled are the marketing teams to drive acquisition at scale, retention at scale, promotions, upsells, cross-sells, increasing share of wallet, and a lot more. So I think all of the internal teams are a really critical part of delivering that end-to-end buyer experience. And you'll hear a lot of our experts talk about this. Now, we're a technology company at commercetools. MongoDB and Google Cloud are as well. So obviously, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about the future of B2B technology. I do think it's going to go beyond composable this year. And the overarching theme of 2025, we believe, will be unified commerce. Unified commerce is more than just another buzzword. To define it, unified commerce is a strategy that integrates all of your sales channels, all of your customer data, inventory management, all of your back-end operations into a single cohesive platform. It's about providing a seamless and consistent experience for your buyers, no matter how they choose to interact with your business, whether that's in store or online or through a seller or whatever other channels you're leveraging. I think this is very important. And with unified commerce, we actually see 4 different technology trends that are fueling unified commerce. And those 4 things, and they'll be talked about more in depth, but very briefly. Number 1, composable technology. So at the heart of unified commerce is composable technology. And of course, commercetools is the global leader in composable commerce. True composability allows businesses to select best of breed components, combine them to create a customized system that perfectly fits their needs. So this modular approach provides their businesses with all the flexibility and scalability necessary for adapting to whatever business requirements change, whatever market conditions change, and whatever buying preferences change with their buyers. The second big technological trend we're seeing is augmented AI. So I think we're moving beyond the hype of generative AI. We're recognizing the value of augmented AI. What is augmented AI? Augmented AI combines human expertise with AI capabilities. And this powerful combination can empower sales reps, marketers, customer support teams to make more informed decisions and provide a very personalized experience to their B2B buyers. Third one is online security. So obviously, with the increasing reliance on digital platforms, digital tooling, online security is more critical than ever. Businesses today are, they've never been more under, risk of cyber attacks or any other kind of security breaches. And B2B businesses recognize that. They're investing. I think this year there's going to be a lot more investment in robust security measures to protect sensitive data, ensure secure transactions. When we think about healthcare and how that gets a lot more complex in regulated environments. And this includes everything from multi-factor authentication to AI-powered fraud detection. So with advancing technology, you also have to advance your technology protection. And finally, data interoperability. This is a hard word to say for everyone. Unified commerce relies on the seamless exchange of data between different systems. So this is something we've been talking about for years already. The reality is a lot of organizations are very far away from it. But this is where data interoperability comes in by ensuring that your ERP, your CRM, your payment platforms, your commerce engine, other critical systems of record can communicate effectively and seamlessly. You can streamline your business operations. You can improve the accuracy of your data. And this obviously ultimately overall enhances the customer experience. So with all of that information, and this is where I'm going to stop talking mostly, what is 2025 going to look like in the B2B commerce world? I would love to bring in our commerce experts to unpack our 6 predictions. And first up, to unpack our first prediction, we have Logan from Google Cloud. Take it away, Logan. I think you're muted, Logan.
Sorry. Thank you, Julia. Extensibility is crucial for automation, composability, and data interoperability that you just talked about. Without that, it becomes really hard. I want to set some context before I go deeper into extensibility. So if you think about the customer experiences, the pandemic ushered in significant changes in customer experiences, and it continues to evolve rapidly. B2B experiences largely mirror B2C as new generation users expect similar experiences with product discovery to purchase to delivery. So, how can B2B businesses using commerce platforms adapt to the new normal? This is where composable architecture comes in. And by enabling extensibility, it allows taking automation to its next level. Commercetools and Google Cloud bring together the power of composable commerce and hyperscale cloud to help businesses improve efficiency through extensibility and automation. B2B businesses can easily extend the commerce platform's core functions with cloud-based AI, data analytics, and other services to simplify, streamline, and automate business functions. With that, they can free up their employees to focus on more important, high value tasks and increase their satisfaction and retention. Let me double click with few examples. Google leads in large language models and generative AI with its multimodal Gemini AI models. Google's new agent space on Vertex AI platform ushers in new agentic era with these technologies. To put it simply, agentic AI is AI-powered automation systems that can reason, plan, and make decisions while performing tasks and achieve business goals with minimal human intervention. And more importantly, they continue to learn and improve their performance. Now, agentic AI can help extend commerce platform core business functions to automate pre and post purchase tasks in the entire B2B commerce value chain. Digital commerce is no longer just exclusive to retail and CPG. Many other industries are selling their products and services online to customers. In fact, my favorite saying is, since the pandemic, every business has become a retail. Um, we have been, transacting with different type of vertical businesses online, from banking to travel and several host of other business areas. So it's no longer exclusive to retail and CPG. And I want to share a couple of examples to emphasize how customers using commercetools and Google Cloud are leveraging this extensibility to take automation to the next level through composability and sort of agentic AI. First one comes to my mind is healthcare. Healthcare organizations using commerce tools can tap into Google Cloud Healthcare API. Healthcare API helps to break down data silos. I think Julia talked about data interoperability being critical to unify and enable seamless exchange of data. So in this case of healthcare, it's about exchanging patient and product data in a more secure and privacy focused way. After all, healthcare is a highly regulated industry. A customer called Cepheid, they are a molecular diagnostic company. They use commerce tools for their online store, and they have automated some of their self-service functions, such as customers able to check inventory, and they can view their contract pricing, because in B2B, pricing and products are specific to each B2B organizations, unlike B2C. So providing that customer centric product and pricing and other terms and conditions are crucial. So Cepheid is able to provide that type of self-service through automation. So customers are checking inventory, they're able to view pricing, and they can also get estimated delivery date, so they can plan their downstream functions. It's a connected world. Each business relies on another business for information in a timely manner, so they can plan in advance, so they can streamline their downstream functions to increase efficiency and lower cost. Next example I want to talk about is manufacturing and logistics organizations. When they are using commerce tools on Google Cloud, again, they can tap into manufacturing data engine on Google Cloud. It's again a way to, similar to healthcare API, it simplifies and streamlines exchanging data among disparate systems that manufacturers have today, logistics companies have. Along with Google Cloud Cortex framework, they can extend commercetools core functions by easily accessing inventory and other data in ERP and supply chain systems to automate fulfillment and delivery functions. Finally, Google Cloud BigQuery is it helps businesses to centralize the data from disparate systems, harmonize them, and apply AI on top of them to get insights to make meaning out of those data, so they can get real-time inventory visibility. That's a major challenge for many B2B businesses. Having visibility to real-time inventory as well as the inventory in motion in the supply chain helps them to plan in advance, automate fulfillment and delivery in a way that improves their efficiency, lower their cost, and ultimately increase customer satisfaction. I want to conclude that extensibility and agentic AI can help organizations using commercetools on Google Cloud to easily automate mundane business activities, free up their employees to focus on high value tasks, and drive higher value across entire B2B commerce value chain. And there are many examples, but I wanted to highlight some of the critical ones. So back to you, Julia.
Thank you so much, Logan. I agree. I think there's so much opportunity for traditional B2B organizations, especially in healthcare and manufacturing, some of these more regulated industries, to gain in automating some of those manual processes. And they have a lot. You'd be surprised. There's still very heavy use of fax machines, potentially even whiteboards.
Yeah.
And I think using the power of technology to focus on activities that drive added value for the buyers and internal teams is actually what's going to make a difference. So I think Google Cloud has really been at the forefront here of helping businesses make the most of the benefits of cloud nativity. And I'm excited to see what happens this year. So next up on a very related AI-based topic, it's a very related and exciting prediction. I'd love to bring in Mark from commercetools.
Thanks, Julia, and hi, everyone. I'm really excited to talk today about AI in B2B commerce. And listen, predictive AI has been a mainstay for a while now, leveraging advanced data analytics to predict buying trends, optimize pricing strategies, manage inventory. These are all really important ways AI can positively impact your business. And companies that can successfully leverage predictive AI to harness and democratize the data insights across their teams can make informed decisions and drive efficiency and competitiveness in their markets. And then the Gen AI, which is kind of the new kid on the block, but definitely not a fad, is coming along. And there are enough real use cases now with generative AI, I think, to cement this into the landscape for the foreseeable future. And we've all probably experimented with some form of Gen AI already. It can sometimes seem magical, sometimes it seems eerie, and sometimes it's just is way off base. And I think all of that has to inform how we leverage AI and Gen AI specifically as we move forward. And the use of agentic and augmented AI, as both Julia and Logan just mentioned, can provide value throughout your organization and all of your offerings. But I do think it's important to note that AI should not be looked at as a replacement for your workforce. Instead, if you think of it as a powerful tool to enhance your workforce, make them more productive, I think you'll have a much better frame of reference to move forward. So if we can, then we'll just zoom in a little bit on the world of AI, specifically in B2B commerce. And as we mentioned in our ebook, the McKinsey report states that 19% of B2B sales teams are already implementing Gen AI use cases and finding success. 23% of B2B sales teams are in the process of experimenting with Gen AI. And companies are 1.7 times more likely to increase their market share when data-driven commercial teams blend personalized experiences with Gen AI. So these numbers are not massive yet. And I think it highlights two things. Firstly, Gen AI is rapidly growing in the B2B space. And second, there's a huge opportunity to get ahead of your competitors by adopting this new technology. And so as we double click or drill down into how Gen AI can help specific segments of your experience, I'd like to go there a little bit. So first of all, buyers. Buyers can leverage Gen AI to research products and suppliers. This is not unique to B2B. Common AI use case is to use open models like ChatGPT and Gemini to hone in on what you're looking for and where to get it. But certainly it's an important part of the buying process. And as Julia mentioned earlier, the younger buyers are looking for more faster and more effective ways to find the information they're getting to through digital channels. In sales, B2B sales reps, they hold this wealth of information and knowledge, but almost all of it is in their head. It's not written down. It's not digitized. So having an agent that does all the work for them is not actually a viable solution. You need something that's going to work with the sales rep and work complementary to them to hone and drill into their experience and offer that experience and enhance their experience. So AI recommendations, AI knowledge bases for the sales reps are super important to bring in, to speed up, to help them do research, but not to provide the answer. The sales reps are the experts. The AI is the supporting member of the team, if you will. And this is going to become increasingly more important as B2B sales adopts more digital commerce channels. When we get into customer service, Gen AI is already being leveraged in customer service examples. In fact, it was one of the early use cases of adoption, where you have the Gen AI powered chatbots that provide 24/7 customer service, answering a majority of the questions as like an L1 support channel, and then handing off to the experts when it either gets to a point where it's above its expertise or it's too complex a case for a simple interaction. And that's great because you're having AI take the load off of your support team, maybe answer the simple questions, and your support team can focus on the more complex and differentiation points. And then behind the scenes, support channels and all of your personalized calling centers can leverage this knowledge base of Gen AI to quickly search through past cases, past solutions, or knowledge bases to help answer questions more efficiently and more accurately. With marketing, Gen AI can automatically create and engaging product descriptions, blog posts, social media captions, all other marketing content, streamlining the content creation process. Again, Gen AI is great at creating. That's the generative part of the word, right? But you still need that person there to validate, to make sure it's in line, it's not breaking any kind of ethical boundaries, that it is in line with your brand messaging. So if you bring in your customer data, now you can take that solution, that generative content, and personalize it to the specific individual or specific customer segment that you're looking to channel. For instance, you can create personalized discounts and then have Gen AI create an email and distribute that automatically to your customer segment that you're trying to target. Listen, these are just a few areas of note. There are lots and lots of areas for Gen AI, and some of them are exploratory, some of them are a little more leveraged now, a little more mature. But I think you can see that there's a lot of opportunity here for Gen AI to help impact your business and your offerings. But then the real question is, of course, how do you get started? Because we talk so much about the opportunity, but without understanding how to get going, the opportunity doesn't really help all that much. You just get confused or you get disenfranchised. So here's a couple of tips that I can help you with. The first of all is to make the most out of your AI, and I'm talking predictive or generative. You're going to need clean, high quality data from a single source of truth that feeds your interactions in real time. So Logan talked about this a little bit, right? You have that data lake that's multi-sourced from all of your different data areas that can sit underneath your AI as a foundational element. Listen, commercetools and our unified commerce approach is a great example of a highly integratable single source of truth that can feed your AI systems. But not commercetools alone. You're going to also need to bring in data from your CRM, your ERP, your CPQ. Having systems that are easily integratable through APIs is the approach that you're going to want to take to get this data into a lake that can be leveraged. And then you're going to want to take that data and you're going to create small agents on top of it, agents that are focused on helping a specific area of your organization or customer experience. These focused agents are easier and more effective to build because they're doing a very specific task. And the larger and the more complex the task, the more likely it is for AI to go off the rails. So what we're seeing now is an approach where you build lots of little focused agents and then have agents on top coordinating these focused agents as kind of a cohesive solution. So if you start by building these little pieces and then you have an agent coordinate them, it's much easier to build this solution forward. And until you can build trust with your Gen AI agents, you want to leverage the idea of augmented AI. This idea that AI is a supplement to your workforce. It's not doing everything by itself. It's simply there as a tool, as a part of your team to help enrich or enhance the performance and effectiveness of your human workforce, which is the actual part of the workforce that is super important. So enable your workforce with AI and then minimize the risk of hallucinations because the humans are there to validate and then take that solution and move it forward. Listen, there's real opportunity here, I think, to take advantage of all these lessons learned by early adopters in B2C and B2B, and then jump straight to the practical agentic usage patterns that we're seeing available now. You're going to want to create your tools, you're going to train your teams and how they work, and you're going to want to encourage your workforce to use them. By enabling your workforce And then the other thing you want to do is you want to enable your workforce to provide feedback on these tools, because you don't want these tools to be a contention point within your team. You want them to be part of your team. So you have your workforce be able to provide feedback, and then this collaborative effort between your workforce and your AI can really help propel your solution and your systems forward in the best possible way. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mark. I mean, I think everyone has their eyes on what is going to happen with AI technologies. The rate of innovation and progress is really so much faster than anything that I think has been experienced in human history. And there's so much potential. I loved your tangible examples on what can actually be done today. And I highly encourage everyone to play and experiment with these technologies for yourself. I mean, we've been playing and experimenting with them at commercetools. I've been experimenting with it myself, and it's actually a lot of fun seeing how much faster you can make yourself. I would love to hear from others what examples they've used to become more effective, become faster, especially in the B2B world. Next up, for our third prediction, I'd love to bring in Genevieve from MongoDB.
Thank you, Julia. So prediction number 3, all roads lead to omnichannel, B2B marketplaces included. So across the wider retail industry, the term omnichannel has been around for coming on 10 years. What we're seeing now coming into 2025 is more and more adoption in the B2B retail space, moving into some of those marketplaces. Those B2B companies are really looking to widen their potential customer acquisition through onboarding new channels. So 2025, we're really seeing a lot of those B2B companies either going into those marketplaces for the first time or integrating into more and more marketplaces as the year goes on. So we've seen this huge jump in the number of marketplaces from about 75 5 years ago to about 600 today. And we've got a projected growth in the number of B2B marketplaces up to 1,000 in the next few years. First of all, these were really specialized by sub-industry, bringing together buyers and sellers in specialized areas like medical device components, freight, etc. This is going to spread out into more and more sub-segments or sub-sectors of commerce. So we need to think, as a B2B company, how are you going to get yourself ready to onboard into that marketplace world? If you're considering moving into a marketplace model, you've got to really be aware of the pros and cons of it. The obvious advantage is really opening up to new customers, faster customer acquisition. B2B companies are going to onboard new segments of customer bases who are looking to shop in a more convenient platform where they can buy from a number of different sellers at the same time. So how, as a B2B retailer, are you really going to be able to best leverage the trend? So first, you need to think about how you can make the most of the marketplace and how are you going to overcome some of those challenges from a technical perspective. So the B2B buyers and sellers need to be really easily able to integrate all of their data into those different marketplaces and platforms. If you think of the different files and formats and requirements they might have in terms of the data model, and having a flexible data model, having a unified data layer which is able to serve data up in different formats to different marketplaces will make it really easy for retailers to map to those requirements of the upstream marketplaces and onboard their product catalogs really easily. Then think about the data availability. The data is going to have to be available within the SLAs of those upstream marketplaces and extremely quickly by API. Retailers and B2B companies who are leaning into an API-first design methodology to their data modeling and underlying data design are really easily going to be able to do this. At MongoDB, we've always had this idea that the data that's accessed together should be stored together. So if you think of an upstream B2B marketplace wanting your product data, why not store that product data in one place? Exactly how commercetools does it. And what we're looking for is really trying to go into speed and simplicity as you're trying to make your data interoperable between those different marketplaces. Then, how can you make sure you're really well positioned in those marketplaces when you're onboarded so that your product will be easily and quickly discovered by the buyers? We've seen customers leveraging generative AI, actually speaking to what Mark just said, to fill in the gaps of some of their product data, whether that's using generative AI to automate product descriptions or changing languages or fill in attributes. If you can have all of the attributes into a certain product, then it's much easier for the customer to find that on the catalog. Also doing things like determining real-time reactive thresholds to pricing can be optimized leveraging generative AI. So what the B2B marketplace model adds in terms of customer growth, we've also got to bear in mind the disadvantage. Rather than going full in into these B2B marketplaces, we're going to see it as just an additional channel. I'm also seeing a lot of B2B companies double down their investment when it comes to their B2B e-commerce platform. The downside to marketplaces is that loss of direct personal relationships. So it has an impact on loyalty. For their strategic customers, the B2B marketplace, the B2B e-commerce platforms are going to be there for the strategic customers and building that relationship and growth. If you're in your own internal platform, you can gather more data from each touch point the customer is making, browsing patterns, inquiries, quick click logs, etc., allowing you to build up huge tracts of customer data insights that'll help you understand more buying patterns, react in time with personalized promotions, additional service offerings, and more. So when we say omnichannel for B2B, it's going to be more investment into those marketplaces and integration, but also into those e-commerce front ends that are currently being developed.
Thank you so much, Genevieve. I'm like you. I actually really love both on marketplaces because they're seemingly two buzzwords, but they've ebbed and flowed in popularity over time. And I feel like no matter the context, they're still relevant. So I don't really think they're buzzwords. I think they're just a real thing. What we're seeing with the B2B firms that are outperforming is that they consider marketplaces, both vertical, horizontal, owned, as just one piece of their overarching omni-channel commerce strategy. And to your point, right, to everyone's point, right, Mark, Logan, everyone said it, the underlying data is so critical, right? But it is just one piece of an overarching omni-channel commerce strategy. And those data backbones are seen as critical to enabling a consistent end-to-end experience across all the channels. So it doesn't matter where you're buying or shopping, if you're interacting with that specific company, you are going to expect a certain level of an experience. So I agree with you on that. And I'm also looking forward to see how omnichannel and marketplaces, where the buzzwords take their spot this year. Moving on to our fourth prediction, I'd love to bring in Niels from commercetools.
Thanks, Jira, and hi, everyone. Today, I'd like to dive into some key trends I see in B2B, specifically the fact that the future of B2B sales is getting more hybrid and more collaborative than ever before. It's not longer an either-or situation where you either are online or you're offline. B2B buyers crave best of both worlds now. They want seamless digital experiences and personalized human interaction. And that makes sense. If we look at the numbers, 41% of buyers prefer online self-service research. They want to explore products and gather information on their own. But also, 46% still rely on phone conversations with sales reps as their primary research method. And this highlights a crucial point. Buyers want choice. They want to engage on their own terms. And this is where hybrid sales model excels, because it recognizes the duality and integrates it into the sales process. That leads me to one key thing that I see, which is the rise of a new product category that's called digital sales rooms, or DSRs. They're basically virtual meeting spaces where sales teams can showcase products, deliver demos, engage directly with buyers. And essentially, it creates a personalized experience. It's kind of like a metaverse for B2B sales, if you know what metaverse is. And Gartner recognizes DSRs as integral to what they call seller-assisted digital commerce, where sales agents support self-service through virtual interactive environments. In the end, this provides a more efficient, more engaging alternative to the traditional presentations and the simple video conferencing that we've seen in the past. Another trend that I'm seeing is assisted selling. So imagine a sales rep who is able to access a customer's digital cart, run them through different options, prepare tailored quotes, and finalizes the order on their behalf once it's approved. This is the promise of assisted selling. The benefits that it has is that the B2B sales cycle is often complex, and this human touch can simplify this intricate process by accompanying the buyer a bit more. But also, it leverages the strengths of your B2B sales teams. Your sellers are experts on their customers and on their products. They have long-standing relationships with them. And so this assisted selling flow, basically, it bridges the gap between digital and traditional sales and takes the best of both worlds. Another trend that I'm seeing is collaborative buying. So we know that the B2B purchase process often involves multiple stakeholders, from procurement, finance, operations, and even more. Modern merchants, they facilitate this collaboration by providing interfaces where these stakeholders can jointly work together, manage purchasing lists and carts. They can group orders across departments, and they can streamline approvals, etc., all within a shared digital space. And by the way, sales reps here are still crucial because they can still guide the process and ensure a smooth collaborative experience. This all promotes an efficient decision-making process across the entire buying organization, and this is what buyers want. I'd like to point a little case study that I ran across, which is a distribution channel in Chile that traditionally relied on sales, on in-person sales, but the pandemic hit, and obviously they were forced to adapt. So what they did is that they implemented a hybrid model using commercetools platform to connect 4 key channels. There was a primary e-commerce site, in-person sales app, a customer app, and a fulfillment app. And what this omnichannel approach did is that it empowered their sales reps, it engaged their customers digitally, and it optimized the fulfillment process all at the same time. And I think it showcases how hybrid sales models, when implemented strategically, can drive growth even in the most challenging market conditions. So in conclusion, I believe the future of B2B sales is for sure hybrid and collaborative. To embrace this change, B2B orgs must equip their sales teams and their buyers with the right digital tools. And by doing so, they can make sure they don't miss this key year of 25 and unlock their full potential.
Thank you so much, Niels. I agree with you. I think that the organizations that can successfully create the right conditions for their buyers and sellers to interact in a way that amplifies their relationships and simplifies their ways of working will be the ones that accelerate their successes this year and many years into the future. I'm excited to see how applying these strategic automation and collaboration wins will influence innovation and B2B customer experiences this year, because I think when everyone is working more effectively together, this is where the true magic happens. So speaking of smart strategies, I'd like to bring in Anna from commercetools to talk about our 5th prediction.
Sure. Our 5th prediction is around smart strategies for inventory and replenishment management surges, which is a very interesting topic, admittedly, Julia, because inventory is not very important only for B2B. It's very interesting and very important across all industries. And what's the reason? Complex supply chains with shipping and logistic issues or limited visibility into inventory levels across multiple locations and warehouses is what make it very challenging. For that reason, the top 3 strategies that we would call out for this year are, first of all, automated reordering and replenishment. So where possible, without human intervention, utilizing real inventory tracking and seamless ERP integration. things like, for example, defining stock limits, flexibility on the cart orchestration, flexibility on stock on inventory reservation across the journey are very important things, and things that we've seen our customers asking and looking for. The second one is allowing buyers to place orders for products ahead of peak demand. And this is very important because then B2B organizations can foster customer retention and loyalty. They know what they can promise to their customers, and therefore, if they are able to stick on their plan and deliver according to their customers' needs, of course, they foster their customer retention and their loyalty. And the third one is predefined shopping lists, which can help accelerate the replenishment process for frequently used items, but also helps building a better relationship between the buyer and the seller, where sellers can predict what the buyers will need ahead of time. Let's say, for example, for a university which will need specific books or specific consumables for the new academic year. There are things where sellers can predict that the buyers will need anyway, and as such, they can predefine their shopping lists based on their needs, which of course will help with the replenishment process and will ensure accurate stock levels and better inventory management. So overall, for the inventory part, what I would like our audience to keep is that autonomous reordering processes, real-time inventory, and seamless ERP integration are the key things to keep in mind in order to stay ahead of the curve as much as possible.
Thank you so much, Anna. And I mean, I love this prediction because it really underscores this need for data, right? Like data to be clean, data to be clear, data to be consistent across all channels, and to be able to use that data in ways that actually fuels performance and growth. So I really believe that the outperformers who are thinking critically like this about every part of their business are the ones who are going to see sustainable growth in the coming years. And there are so many opportunities to think about how technology can help us all work smarter and faster and mitigate risk. And I think the organizations who can successfully give away their Legos to digital are the ones that will see both more engaged customers, but also larger increases in revenue. So finally, for our next and last prediction for 2025, I'd love to bring in Michael from commercetools.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Julia. I wish I would have had a good handover, like, speaking about smart strategies. That was pretty sweet. So for my prediction, I think over the last couple of years, we've witnessed a shift in how organizations approach technology investments, both in the mid-market space as well as the enterprise space. And I think if you're listening to kind of like the major analysts like Gartner, Forrester, IDC, those bodies have observed that enterprise organizations tend to make decisions the safe way, right? We've all heard no one gets fired for buying IBM, SAP, you name it, right? Like the big companies there. And so if you're looking kind of like down market, in the mid-market and upper mid-market, those firms are driven by ambitious growth goals and a need to punch above their weight. They embrace risk, they embrace innovation, and these companies thought to leapfrog their competitors, leveraging cutting edge technologies and move into the billion-dollar category. But I think the story is really evolving here. So what was once seen as a trend specific to mid-market firms is now proliferating across enterprises. And so when we're looking at composable commerce, I think it was once viewed as like a tool for aggressive digital natives, digital mature niche players. That is now a game changer for large enterprises accelerating their digital maturity. And so you might be asking yourself, like, why are enterprises adopting or embracing composable technologies now? Again, it's not like they haven't done it before, but certainly we see kind of like a real uptake there. And the reason is simple, and there's three, right? Pressure from competitors. Enterprises feel the competitive pressure just as much as their mid-market counterparts. So the need to differentiate, innovate, and scale quickly is more crucial and more critical than ever. The other notion is also the whole idea of leapfrogging digital maturity. I think the notion of composable commerce allows organizations to accelerate digital transformation, leapfrogging years of incremental change to deliver modern and flexible and scalable solutions. And thirdly, I think it's all about people, processes, and technology. I think large organizations are rethinking their tech stacks. They're also rethinking their team structures, but they're also looking at workflows and how to optimize customer experiences and stay ahead of the competition. So I think I loved how Mark and others in this panel sort of really gave actual, meaningful, and real examples, and I want to do the same. And so one inspiring example of composable commerce in action is Ingersoll Rand. And Ingersoll Rand is operating within the specialty industrial machinery sector, for those of you who are not familiar with the brand. And they design, manufacture, and service a broad range of products, everything including air compressors, pumps, power tools, things of that nature. They have about 16,000 people worldwide, and I think last year they reported north of 7 billion in revenue. What they did, and this is for me the true testament that enterprise companies are really embracing composable commerce, is they've acquired and purchased commercetools, and they achieved incredible results by going live in just 100 days. And I think that's really a testament to the speed to market and the adaptability that composable solutions provide. And so what I think composable commerce really empowers businesses to do is also three things: launch and iterate quickly, reduce time to market for new features and products, experiment at scale, fostering innovation across teams. It's no longer business versus IT. I think it's really the collaboration across the organization. And thirdly, adapt to changing market conditions without being tied to rigid monolithic systems that are holding them back and effectively chaining them to kind of like the status quo. And so what we're seeing is we're seeing the industry change. What we're seeing in 23, what we saw in 24, and again, what we predict for 25 and beyond is a wholesale shift across the industry. Composable technologies are no longer niche solutions. They're becoming the standard for enterprises looking to redefine their customer experiences and their digital transformations. This isn't just a technology evolution. It's a transformation of the entire organization. I said it before. It's no longer about business versus IT. It's not just technology being an enabler. It's about how can you transform the entire organization and sort of rethink about people, processes, technology. And so I think the winners at the end will be the enterprises that embrace composable commerce, and they are poised to lead the charge. They're creating scalable, flexible, and future-ready solutions that meet the demands of kind of like the modern consumers. And so it's kind of like parting ways and kind of like closing inspiration. I think the era, and this is not a Taylor Swift reference, but the era of composable commerce here is really, it's taking the industry by storm. So whether you're a mid-market firm trying to leapfrog into enterprise or large, complex organizations rethinking your tech stack, the benefits are clear: speed, scalability, and the ability to innovate at every level. So the question isn't whether enterprises will adopt composable technologies, it's how quickly they can implement them to stay ahead of the curve. And maybe to close off with a bit of a cliffhanger and kind of like referencing something that Genevieve and Logan and Mark were alluding to, I think the question is also, how can you use AI to adopt composable commerce faster? Or how does composable commerce empower the full power of AI? Because I truly believe that under the hood, right? Like if you're truly cloud native, if you're truly API first, I think you can really unleash the full power of AI. I'm handing over back to you, Julia.
Thank you so much, Michael, for closing out our predictions on such a strong note. I mean, I think you summed it up really well, right? Speed, data, flexibility, AI, collaboration. I should probably create a speech bubble from all the buzzwords we said, but I think all of these are true. I think they are going to be really critical for organizations of all sizes this year. I couldn't agree more, and I'm really excited to see the future of B2B commerce materialize itself in 2025. It's a great time to be alive. So, with that, moving on to our conclusion, we only have a few minutes left. Here's a summary of our 2025 predictions. Extensibility is going to take automation to the next level. Generative, predictive, and more. AI and B2B is going to grow out of buzzword bingo. All roads are going to lead to omnichannel, including B2B marketplaces. The future of sales is going to be hybrid and collaborative, and it's coming this year. There are smarter strategies for inventory and replenishment management surges, and digital maturity investments with Composable are going to grow across our organizations of all sizes, both enterprise, mid-market, and across the board. So we're going to check back in next year to see how these panned out. But until then, if you have thoughts, ideas, or want to chat more about any of these, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us to keep the conversation going. Before we close out, just a few more additional resources. So I'd like to leave you with a few additional resources for further exploration of Composable, AI, omnichannel, hybrid selling, customer experiences, and digital maturity topics. So the first is the report that we just covered in this webinar, but there's so much more in there that we didn't cover. So I highly recommend giving this one a read. We'll also be sending all of you that attended a complimentary copy. So no stress, it should be in your inbox shortly. And the second resource is our starter guide to B2B digital commerce, which gives you all the ins and outs of how to get started, which options to consider, and everything you need to know. I would like to thank all of our speakers one last time, all of our commerce experts for their time today and for sharing their unique insights. Mark, Anna, Niels, Michael, Logan, Genevieve, thank you, thank you, thank you. You're an inspiration. And a huge thank you to our audience today for joining us. We hope you found this valuable, and we look forward to continuing the conversation with you. So here's to a bold 2025 of B2B innovation. Thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Julia.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.